Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October, good question, 5th by the look of it. Probably wrong on that, at 8 p.m. 2025 PST. Now, well, so much for the whole lead-in. Anyway, I have been asked, last week was a little rough, so my apologies for the disruption, like that's going to matter. Sorry, I ended up with a 3-foot blood clot in my leg. They got that out completely. And then I had 2 cardiac arrests, which is wonderful from my standpoint. Other than I did manage to survive this. Well, I guess that's including. But during that time, I was literally physically dead for 10 minutes combined, between the two. And came back, well, without the blood clot, without the PTSD, without without a lot of things, but 10 broken ribs and a fractured sternum. Now that's the Reader's Digest version of the whole event. But here's the thing. I have been asked, I cannot tell you how many times, when you were passed away, did you get any sort of a download? Some people will call it a download. I call it a conversation. Now, if you take a look at the time frame, okay, if you look at the comparison, on the other side, a day on the other side is like 1,000 years here. Okay, well, I was only dead for about 10 minutes combined, which means somewhere around 7.5 to 10 years over there. I came back with a very simple message, okay, and that is this. Actually, before I get into it, if you look at the banner at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice we now have the rules of the room scrolling across there constantly. I have already asked and had confirmed by my moderators that if somebody steps out of line, we're not bothering with the warnings anymore. They're right there in black and white. Well, in blue and white. Okay. Therefore, people that are trying to cause a problem are going to very quickly find themselves on the outside, only able to listen. Okay. This is not the moderators being too harsh. This is me looking at it going, I put things on hold long enough. Now, the message I got was this. I've been avoiding the spiritual front on this whole stream. I got asked point blank while I was over there, why are you doing that? What do you think you're there to do? So, this is where we go from here. Number one, okay, there are a lot of different spiritual paths out there. Many mainstream religions, many old world religions, and pick what you will. I am not here to tell you what you should believe or what you should call anybody. Okay? Now, virtually every religion I know of has decided they believe in a higher power of some form. Now, there are a myriad names. Okay? Now, understand, I am lazy. Okay? So, my spiritual icon, if you will, I call God. You don't have to. You don't even have to believe in God. But if you're going to use the idea, I only believe in that which I can see. How's gravity working for you? Okay, now, the important factor here is call your higher power what you will. For me, I don't care if you call it a peanut butter sandwich, but I will tell you this. That'll get stale real quick. I did know growing up, I knew a guy that literally prayed to a light bulb every night. And unfortunately, his parents knew it was a problem, but they were on top of it. One day they didn't change the light bulb, and it went out while he was praying. Now, you can pray to who you will. You can call anybody. You call whatever higher power you have what you will. But I'm telling you this. All the prayer in the world, all the positive thinking in the world isn't going to help if you don't move. You're going to have to pardon me on that one. Well, you don't have to. Still working with damaged lungs from a tracheotomy. I think that's what they call it. But from this point forward, it's simple. 3 karmic laws, and even the gods themselves follow these. And when I say the gods, understand there are many species that have claimed godhood. Nobody is immune to it. Okay? Therefore, be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Okay, now I came back with a very definitive issue, a very definitive focus on getting my health in order. Okay, so I am finally getting things back on track, paying attention to what I'm eating, paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, and I will walk you through it. But here's the thing. I can turn all the lights on. I can tell you exactly where you're standing. And if you're having trouble gauging it, if you go to www.buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ, you'll find all the books I've currently written and how to get a hold of me if you're looking for personal, business, or spiritual consultancy. Okay, I've kept the price deliberately low because of the fact that the people that really require it don't have $1,000 an hour. Now, one of the biggest things we got to look at is this. First and foremost, virtually every path I've talked to people about says the same thing. Their God, their higher power, loves everyone, okay, and created everything. With this in mind, everyone, you'll notice, doesn't specify gender, skin color, orientation, political affiliation. It says everyone. Oh, we can see this is going to be a rough run. Okay, if you believe that your higher power created everything, understand that is literally everything that exists, whether it's a physical thing, a mental thing, a possibility, a probability, doesn't matter. Therefore, okay, and you can argue this one until the cows come home between yourselves, because it is an argument you will lose and many have lost trying to have with me. If your God created everything, which in my eyes, mine did, okay, that means everything good, neutral, and evil. Now, you can continue pointing the finger at the government, at the corporations, at the pharmaceuticals, at God himself or herself. You take your pick. But understand something. You're the one doing the action. You were given free will. You were given free choice. If you're choosing to have a miserable life, that's your doing. And don't get me wrong, there are extenuating circumstances. Many people have had major problems where all of a sudden you find yourself without an income. All of a sudden you're living on the street. Okay, now, thankfully I've never hit that point. But it is imperative you realize that by reaching out for help, as I told my son, reaching out for help is a way of stepping up to the plate and taking control of your own life. Now, this is where I'm going to turn around, and many of you are going to say, oh, you're supporting Big Pharma. No, I'm not. But I will tell you this. You take a look at Big Pharma, and the one thing I will tell them and tell you is that they turn around and they give you this little itty-bitty list. They'll say, here's this one thing that helps your health. Okay. This is one thing it'll do to help you. And here's a stack a mile deep that is going to kill you. Then they turn around and say, please buy my medications. if you figure that the dangers are less impressive than the benefits, then carry on. But regardless of which road you go down, you're the one making the choice. Now, I screwed that up. There we are. Now, I've been on the other screen. So, going back here, we have Eternity Eternally is in with the gold. How's it going, Eternity? Glad you could join us. And then what we got here? Oh, there we have. We have Operation Shutdown is in with the silver. How you doing, Operation? Glad to see you. And LA, glad you are moving around well enough to be here. And I know in the story in the background we have Storm taking care of all the odds and ends. And what do we got? Chad, glad to see you. Another one of our moderators. And who got the bronze here? Bob Thorson. Thanks so much, Bob. I did manage to pull it out. I actually got out of the hospital on Friday. And I'll tell you, my life has changed drastically. And frankly, yours can too. Now, who do we got here? There we are. Now, I will say, I know we've got a docking station here to get me onto the bigger screen so I can read easier. But where it comes to the spiritual world, okay, whatever spiritual path you're on, the critical factor is that you look in the mirror and go, I've got a choice. I can change my life and start living life, which, is what I've decided to do. Or you can stay right where you are, continue pointing the finger at other people and blaming everybody else. It is your call. But you were given free will. You were given free choice. It's time to get off your tail feathers and make it happen. Now, I am going to be walking you through the exact same steps that I personally am using in order to reclaim power over my own life, spiritual, mental, both logical and emotional, financial and materialistic. Okay, I'm telling you, you can't take it with you. The Egyptians thought they could, and well, we know how that worked out. Thing is, when I look at what the pharmacies are, what the pharmaceutical companies are doing, I go, at least they're being honest. I've dealt with literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of marketing companies without exception. Except one, I shouldn't say without exception. With one exception, I've run into one thing. All of them have claimed that that if I gave them X dollars, they would help build my data and my sales market numbers. Get this, tens of thousands of dollars without much of an exception. These guys have taken my money, and I haven't gotten one inquiry. Never mind a sale. Okay, buymeacoffee.com is the one company that's been dead honest. Okay, now with that in mind, understand there's a lot. I still get constant emails from people. Oh, we're a marketing company for X dollars. We can help spread. We can help gain your visibility. I'm going to be blunt about this. Okay, don't bother sending me the invitation because I won't do it without getting the service first. I've been burned often enough, and I'm going to go back to this other thing. Okay, and there's some of you out there that are going to be sitting there going, well, you can't paint everybody with the same brush. And I'm like, I keep telling you, I'm lazy. I don't use a paintbrush. I use a bucket. And then tell people, there are 12 people and they know who they are. That when they open their mouth, I'll take what they're saying for granted that it's being straightforward. Okay, do your best not to take this personally. But I use a bucket and go, nope. Now, clean yourself up and prove me wrong. And here's the thing. I've been told very emphatically, well, when I was on the other side, I told the individual I was talking to that I've been avoiding the spiritual side of it because you guys have the right to follow who you will, right? I'm telling you, you're walking down in many cases, you're walking down the wrong path. The reason I say this is do you yourself, and just be honest with yourself, I don't need to know. Okay? Do you yourself look at people based on their skin color, their religious alignment, their orientation? Do you look at them and go, that person isn't living up to your standards, or that person is a mistake? Or do you even know somebody that does that? If this is the case, and understand, the spiritual leaders across the board that are out there have been taught by their forefathers, by their teachers. This is why things have gone sideways. Renee, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. And I see Wu is in here as well. Now, I'm sure I missed something along the line there. My apologies, guys. And there is Rachel. Glad to see you're all here. Hopefully things are going well for you. Now, from my end, it is simply an issue of, I was literally told, quit playing at being positive. Okay? I can't tell you how many times I personally, in spite of putting together a newsletter, and yeah, it went on hold, illness, that sort of thing, kind of hiccup things. But the magazine, Positive Perspectives, and this stream, Positive Perceptions, I cannot tell you how much time I've spent fighting my own depression. Okay? I spent the last 60 years watching this world collapse because people chose to sit there and point the finger at the government and say, they're causing the problem. Well, let me ask you this. Who put them in office? Okay, let me ask you this. Are you causing a problem yourself? Now, the fact of the matter is, you've got a choice to make. You can either start living life, or you can walk away and you can say, I'm just going to kill time until I get there. Okay, now I can go down a lot of dangerous roads. I'm not going to. All I'm asking is that you take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, because I keep getting asked, well, how do you make contact with the off-worlders? Well, I'll tell you, the first thing you do, start treating the people around you decently. In other words, quit shooting at them first and then asking them if they're nice. Or quit swearing at them or calling them names and then asking them how their day's going. Because I'll tell you, that's backwards. Now, what do we got? I'm just looking to see if I missed anything, which I probably did. So all in all, it's very simple. It is time for us as a species, as co-inhabitants of this planet, to start reaching out and talking to people. Okay, to start treating each other decently. This whole idea of helping each other seems to have gone the way of the dodo bird in a lot of cases. Okay, and it's up to you as an individual to start this changing. Now, yes, I absolutely intend on turning the light on and saying, look, this is where we got a problem. Okay, now, there's all kinds of problems I can point out, but let's start with the positive things instead. Okay, I'm sure you can go to any newscast, any newspaper, any outlet you'd like, and find something to get depressed about. Lord knows I have. I will tell you, having a tracheotomy. Well, I don't know if it was a tracheotomy, but having a pipe shoved down your throat so you can breathe is not a fun way to come through things. although I am still breathing. But I can honestly say I've probably got a record that nobody's going to beat, and I hope none of you do. Okay, to date, I've now had 11 trips to the other side. So, can I tell you there's a white light that you go to? Certainly. Can I tell you your life flashes before your eyes? Absolutely. But I will also tell you, you don't have to go tomorrow. Ow. By the way, coughing with 10 broken ribs, not a fun thing. Now, I'm looking in the mirror myself. Well, oh, there we are. Oh, LA's just letting us know I was intubated. They didn't actually ask me, for permission, but my wife was right there to make sure that everything went as well as she could. But yeah, it's not a fun recovery. It's happening, but so be it. This said, I am healing. I still can't lay down flat in bed, so I'm sleeping on the rocker right now. Because every time I lay down, it's not so much I can't breathe as I can't get back up. Now, from this point forward, I am doing a lot of tracking of what I'm doing with my finances. They're on the upswing. The numbers here, by the way, what are we sitting at? 693. Now, it was brought to my attention very clearly that number doesn't mean much. Okay? Because if you take a look at that number, let's see. Did that wrong. If we go 693 times 50 views on average, we're at over 34,000 people. But here's a big thing. Okay. The reality is the people that are looking for this kind of a different door, I'm right in the open. I'm not hiding, and I encourage you to let people know. I'm doing what I can. Now, I spent a lot of time, telling people, my own kids included, that I feel like a burden because I'm not able to take care of everything for me. And I'll tell you, when my son looks at me the other day, just yesterday, he looks at me and goes, "Dad, knock it off. I get to determine if you're a burden." And that same message is the same one for all of you out there. If you're not able to do everything yourself, asking for help is doing something for yourself. The important factor you have to realize is that it's up to you to enjoy life as much as you can. Now, absolutely, you have to follow the laws of the land, which means whatever the government has put in place for a law, whether you agree with it or not, isn't the relevant issue. The fact is, it's a law. Stop bellyaching about it, and either follow it or realize that breaking it is going to have consequences, or get into office and work from inside the system. Yes, the system is gimped. Absolutely it is. But it's the only one we've got. So until it starts changing, which by the way, starts by you, the individual, starting to say hello to strangers. Okay. Now, I don't recommend this very often. I'm going to really suggest you look up on YouTube a song called Up, Up with People, 1973, done by the Carpenters. Look it up and listen to it. It's got a message that is incredible for you. Now, I'm going to do my best to get back on track. But needless to say, right now, my health has to be a critical priority. Okay. Now here's the other thing. I said I was going to stay away, like I, for the longest time, avoided going down the spiritual path. Well, here's a spiritual path for you. And the reason I will not, and I've still got people coming to me and approaching me and going, "Oh, join our church. I'm going to save you the whole lot of hassle." I'm not doing it because I am a part of every one of those paths. And by the way, so are each and every one of you. The key is to treat each other the way you desire to be treated. Okay? If you do that, this world will start to turn. If you don't, guess what the outcome is? Am I going to start pointing out, oh, here's a politician you should follow, or here's the religious path you should be going down? Not a prayer. Your call. Free will, free choice. The only thing I do ask is, because of the fact that we are coming out of this, we're coming out of this whole issue of my past couple of weeks with a very different outlook on life. And this is why, this being Sunday, we are focusing on the spiritual side of life. This means the spiritual connection between every one of you and everything. The time for sitting around waiting for somebody else to change it is over. Okay? And yes, you absolutely have the right to point the finger and blame somebody else. And some of you have definitely ended up shortchanged. I'm fortunate. I didn't end up living on the street. Okay? I've managed to avoid that my whole life. Many of you have not. Now, that said, I doubt I've got very many people listening in that happen to be currently living on the street. Though in today's world, that is possible. Okay? And, to each and every one of you, wherever you're sitting, okay, I do want to say thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight. The idea of being soft-spoken hasn't worked. And the number of people I talk to that look down on me because I'm not a millionaire. And many of you have the same problem. You don't have a lot of money, so all of a sudden you're not meaning as much. Okay? I'm telling you, you're important. Every single one of you is important. But the thing I cannot do, or more to the point, will not, is alter the rules and go, okay, let's, because you're so-and-so, because you hold such and such a position, or you have produced so many books, you're a bestseller, or a mainstream actress or actor, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you're so much more important than the person living on the street. Sorry, a lot of ego boosters out there. I'm not good at it. I had a delivery drive. I had a food delivery show up today. And the guy, he's coming up the hallway, and I'm not known for being subtle. So as he's coming up the hallway with my groceries, he goes, "Mr. Andrews, so what did you do last week?" I looked at him and I said, "I died." And, I say that it almost comes out tongue-in-cheek, I realize that. But you do it often enough, it becomes redundant. I'm here now to tell you I'm no longer interested in just putting in time, in just existing. As I told my wife, I will do everything I can to get back on track. Okay, I will look for a way to enjoy life. I even told the doctors, you guys tell me that that diabetes is not curable. Keep that belief. I will work with you. I'll do what you're telling me so you can do your job. But rest assured, I will be using a combination of Western, Eastern, and other healing modalities in order to cure the illnesses I'm dealing with. I'm no longer willing to sit back and wait for it to happen. And thankfully, And, say what you will about my moderators. Storm and LA were right there, especially for my wife. I know they did what they could for me, but let's face it, doctors kind of had a hands-on grip on that one. But they were right there through everything to help my wife deal with the fact that she may become a widow only 6 weeks into our marriage. Okay, I am now looking into the direct impact of various herbs and what have you. I'll keep you posted as things transpire. Understand, I am not a medical professional. I'm barely medically competent. Okay, so with that in mind, whatever has come out of my mouth, I'm certain has got some of you unhappy. Okay, I'm hoping it has more of an impact of getting people to think. Okay, because from this point forward, we push to make this world a better place. And I will ask you, when you were out today, if you went out, did you say just simply hi to a passing stranger? Okay, and I realize that's a virtually lost art. Okay, but we are taking so much for granted in this world that we've got to pull our head out of the sand. And yes, when I say we, I'm referring to myself as well. We take such simple things as having the freedom to get up and go for a walk. Okay, and we look at that and go, oh, that's just we get to do that. So away you go, and you just don't tend to appreciate it. Now, maybe you as an individual do. I know I didn't. Okay, I was looking at this whole thing going, I'm putting in time. Now, because the screen is so small, there's many comments I'm not catching. Okay, that I will be going back over before I shut this down, or at least I hope I will be. Okay, in order to go back and see, because I notice Woon is giving me a number of ideas on how to actually heal a little faster. I am not stuck on the idea of following Western medicine and going, I'm going to be stuck this way for life. I figure I walked out of the morgue, well, realistically, more often than I care to count. But once where it was literally the morgue. Now, to steal to borrow a phrase from somebody from long, long ago, all that I do, thou shalt do, and more. In other words, if I can put my body back on track, if I can break alcoholism and drug addiction, amongst a number of other things, not least of which is obesity and death. Now, the death, I'm recommending you don't try that one. Really rough. But all of the other above ones, the addictions, whatever the addiction, if I can walk away from it, so can you. Okay. Now, when I was growing up, my dad had us recite the same poem every week. Okay. And I don't recall all the poem. I only ever did recall one sentence of it. Can't is a word that is foe to ambition. Okay. Now, you can look it up on the internet. The thing I don't think you'll find on the internet, I know when I looked it up, I didn't. My dad told me that poem was originally penned by Danny Thomas from way back in the 1940s, I think. Okay, for his daughter, who was going through a very rough time at the time and was constantly saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, I'm sitting here with 10 broken ribs and a fractured sternum. Okay, telling you it's time to pull your head out of that sackcloth and start looking around the world and seeing what you're missing. Okay, this is not the time to look at the news and go, oh, the world's going to heck in a handbasket. It's all this politician's fault or this religious leader's fault. It's all there. It's all them that's causing my life to have a mess. I'm telling you, I was right with you on a lot of it. Okay. However, I've always looked in the mirror, even when I was drinking heavily, going, I'm the one picking up the glass, or in my case, the bottle. But, if you're hoping I'm going to sit back and start and permit people to make excuses to me for why their life is a mess, you might want to save your breath. Okay. Because I'll tell you, I am quite willing to point you in the direction, give you the tools to break addictions. Okay. And these are tools that have been tried on well over 100,000 clients. So we're not talking about guesswork. We're not talking about something I read in a government brochure. We're talking about personal hands-on experience. One of the biggest things that I have found is that if you look at this world, I hear people say it all the time. All you got to do is have a positive outlook. Really? Think about that. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to go, my life's going to get better, but I'm not going to put the bottle down. I'm not going to put the cigarette out. I'm going to carry on with the same, and I will call them stupid habits, because they are breakable. Now, let's be clear. Okay, true ignorance is you don't know any better, and therefore you're doing it. Stupidity means you know better and you're doing it anyway. Okay, when I was drinking heavily, I knew it was bad for my health. I did it anyway. Okay, now what I'm looking at is going, okay, let's call a spade a spade. Okay, and that really boils down to this. If you're the one drinking, you're the one that can stop it. Yeah, you probably require guidance or support. And I will tell you, I am right there for you. There's no problem there. I will tell you there are flaws in everything. So I am looking at adjusting various different things. We can go the metaphysical route and go, I'm adjusting the way I look at tarot, the way I look at astrology, the way I look at numerology, modern medicine. You're entitled to your own belief. You really are. The reality of it is, in this room, the laws that are listed at the bottom, those are the ones that are going to be enforced. One of the things you got to realize is we were giving warnings. If you all of a sudden find yourself outside, outside, able to listen, not able to participate, look at your last comment. Okay. Odds are you said something, meaning you called somebody on their political field. You tried pushing a political alignment. You told somebody their opinion was wrong. These things, just read the red list at the bottom. These will get you evicted like that. You'll still be able to listen. One of the biggest things we have. Oh, there we are. Blue Cruz, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I've still got that sign right over my computer that says, I am worth it. Okay. Any book, any of the hard copy books that I sell that are available through the website, through the Buy Me a Coffee link, any of the actual physical books come with a bookmark attached. Okay. And the reality of it is, am I looking at pushing that and really starting to advertise on that level? Yes. But this particular journey is about staying on the positive, straight, and narrow. Okay. You can call your higher power, call it what you will. I call mine God for one reason. 3 letters. Well, sorry. I guess technically 3 reasons. It's only 3 letters. It's only 1 syllable. And I'm lazy. Okay. So the reality of it is, absolutely, If you desire input from me regarding a specific religion or a specific political field, understand I don't follow any of them. But also understand on this stream, I will not be looking at any of those questions because I'm not voicing those. Okay? I have my own opinions. Ask me directly. I'm subtle. Like I said, food delivery says, what did you do last week? I said, I died. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I was in the hospital and my heart stopped twice. Like I said, I'm not known for being subtle. But that said, I am not going to be walking away anymore. From my end, it boils down to this. I have a choice. I can continue being soft-spoken. I can continue telling you, you just need a little understanding. I'm telling you right now, if you're overweight, or even if you just don't like the weight you're at, okay, and double check with your fitness officials, with your fitness professionals. I have, for the last 2.5 years, by cutting back on what I was eating and by moving a little more, I have dropped 50 pounds of weight, almost 60, I think. Well, I was 46. I'm now, over 70. I was 246 2.5 years ago. I'm now, as of this morning, 175. Whoop. Okay. Now, Wu's asked a very important question, and the answer is yes. It depends on what Wu Rider has asked is, can you go into detail on your NDE, your near-death experience? I'm telling you, it was a whole lot closer than near. Now, let me see here. I just got to lean close to the screen so I can read it. Can you go into detail on your NDE, and also did you encounter any... I do not know what an NHI is. So hopefully Storm or LA can pop in and let me know what that is. Because I have no idea. I do know that when I went over, it was the weirdest feeling. It wasn't a white light. In this case, I actually didn't go through a white light. The world turned around and folded in on itself. Okay, and the universe, the stars, the whole 9 yards. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for that, Wu. NHI, non-human intelligence. The short answer is yes, a staggering number. Now, I will tell you this. Okay, there were a couple of big messages that came in. When I went over, I had a conversation and I call it a conversation, not a download. Okay, I spoke directly to what I call my higher power, my God. Okay, and you can believe that or not. That's your call. Okay, because thankfully you weren't there. Okay, but while I was talking to him, and again, I'm lazy, so I picked one gender and go with it. Do what you will. I looked at him and went, he asked me, why are you avoiding the spiritual side of life? I said, because everybody was given free will. And he goes, what did you think I put you down there, that I sent you down there for? Okay. He says, it's not a question of do you guys have free will? You absolutely do. But you guys have got to start being consistent. Okay? If your God, if your if your creator created everything, this means they created evil. They did not create everything and not evil. You get one or the other, not both. Okay. Now, am I going to be building any major icon in time, given enough time and enough money? yeah, I've got plans for a building to go up. Okay. In the meantime, I am going to be focusing on the spiritual side of life. Okay. Spiritual side on Sundays. I had to pick a day that one worked. Friday and Saturday, we're going to look at the off-worlders and their various cultures, their various tendencies. On Sundays, we're hitting spirituality. On Mondays, we're going to take a look at your finances. And on Tuesdays, we're going to look at your self-help. Okay. Now, things may jockey periodically. We'll keep you posted as best we can. But the reality of it is that if you're looking for some way for me to turn around and, if you will, corroborate or ratify your idea that maybe you think the pharmaceutical companies are to blame for all the mess in the world. Okay, let me ask you, who bought it? Who bought the medication? Okay, who decided they weren't going to look and find out that, oh my gosh, if I did a little bit of poking around, and no, I am not about to start listing off things. I will tell you, if people know anything in the way of the higher qualities of different herbs and different foods, absolutely drop me a line. I would love to hear from you. And this is the one time where I am actually doing research. Okay, the reality of it is this. You desire your life to be better. You're the one that's going to have to get off your tail feathers to make it happen. You know, one of the things we have to realize when I went over, okay, when I say I looked at the world folding in on itself, I watched entire star systems fold in, kind of like looking through a kaleidoscope. Go back to the 60s. They used to sell them all the time. They may still have them. Okay. Look down a long pipe and you spin it and it looks like the world's just doing really funky things. Okay. This is what it looked like. But it was the message that I was given that was critical. That being, take the kids' gloves off and let these people know, yes, you have free will. You have free choice. But if you're choosing to go to a building to listen to somebody tell you that another group of people God wants dead, you might want to reconsider. If God wanted people dead, he doesn't wait for humans. Okay, he's got the planet, the power to snuff out a universe in a heartbeat. But he gave free will, free choice. Now I'm giving you a choice. Get off your tail feathers. Turn to the people that you know. Ask for help. Join together. Yes, the world's a mess. We have let it get that way. And all of us are to blame. Okay? But it's because of apathy. We gave up trying. Okay? That's the biggest problem. And I cannot speak for you. I can speak for me and me only. There we go. Woo, that is absolutely fantastic. Woo's just letting us know he is down 50 pounds. Okay, this is fantastic. I will tell you, losing the weight dropping the weight has a lot of benefits. But no matter how much you weigh, it will be a long haul in all likelihood. Target losing, and this is just from my personal experience. Okay, yes, I had a lot of health professionals recently tell me I'm on the right track. But I've dropped over 70 pounds now and kept it off. It will be a long haul. Okay, I am going to rebuild the nerve structure in my body. It's going to take time. Where it comes to weight specifically, okay, target, in my opinion, and double check with your healthcare professionals. Okay, personally, I target a pound to a pound and a half a week, not a day. Sure, You can take medications and drop 30 pounds in a month. Sure you can. But does it stay off? And does it do like I did? Drop the weight and have a heart attack. I'm telling you, this is a bad path. But, one of the things I will tell you is Sunday, from now on, we are going to be looking at this world and going, okay, every religion, every spiritual path out there that I've run into, and when I say every one of them, I mean, human, ancient race, and off-world combined. Okay, all of them teach basically the same thing. Okay, so stop judging each other based on what you're calling your creator. Okay, stop looking down on people because they don't have the money to do what they'd like. Okay, this idea that you look at somebody, you can tell what they're like just by looking at them. In most cases, people are mistaken. I used to have coffee with a guy that lived on the street. And long story short, that man had close to $1 million in the bank. I asked him why he was on the street. He says, well, I like living on the street. Some people do. Not all people living on the street are problem children. And many of them are on the street because the world they were living in at home was untenable. All it takes is a moment to say hello to somebody. Okay, to simply have them feel that they are now noticed. Okay, and I've been guilty of my own shortfalls. What are we here? The reality of it is there's a lot of dietary paths you can go. Okay, I am doing everything I can to stay on track to get my sugar levels down because they have now officially diagnosed me diabetic and have given me corroborated proof that I can see the numbers. But does this mean I'm going to settle for it and say that's how I am for life? Not a prayer. Ferret, how are you? Glad you can make it. The reality is, I notice some of you, I do my best to notice who's coming in. Okay. I've had a lot of contact from people outside of this stream. Okay. People I didn't even know had heard of me. Okay. And I'm telling you, what is it now? I'll have to get back to you on it, but there is a UFO convention up in Caribou Country in BC, Canada, next September that I will be going to. I've already booked the time for it. But that is one of the things that I work on. And like I said, on Fridays and Saturdays, we're going to focus on that. On Sundays, we're going to make sure that we really drive home the idea. If you believe your creator created everything, then count everything. Everything, every thought, every possibility, all of it. Okay. And understand he or she did this without humans around to give him recognition. Okay. Do I believe in God? Certainly. Do I worship God? Not a prayer. But do I look up to him and strive to emulate what he's up to? Yes, or what he's done, if you will. To that end, I'm rebuilding my entire inner world here. Okay, which means I'm going through all of my physical stuff, disposing of the stuff I don't feel I require. Okay, and I will be shipping it out. So as soon as I can get to it, I will start posting which comics I've got that I am going to be selling. Okay, and I'm talking comics in fine condition. I think that's the term. From the 80s. Okay, many of them complete sets. But that's another issue, and that will be posted on Facebook and LinkedIn as I go along. And of course, the reality is, if I say something and either you'd like to contact me, go to buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ. It'll give you all the connections. Okay. I've just mentioned I've got comics that are going to be going up for sale. They're being resold, as in I own them. Okay, I didn't write them, but the books I'm writing, I'm continuing to put out, and will continue to push that side of it. I've just noticed our time here. So, I'm going to put it to you this way. Tomorrow we will be dealing with finances. Tuesday, self-help. Friday and Saturday we'll be going to the alien side. And then Sunday we're going right back into this rabbit hole of spirituality. The time for sitting back and waiting for others to change it is over. Now, to that end, I do want to thank you for sharing your time with me tonight. Really appreciate it. You taking time out of your day to spend time with us here is extremely important to me and very much appreciated. Now, that said, I will talk to you again tomorrow, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.